Broncos country, Malaha salute. What's going on, everybody? The Broncos 53-man roster is officially, for now, put together. We know who made this team, and we got some pretty big surprises, man. We're going to dive right into it. Before we do that, guys, hit that subscribe button, like some of the videos. I really appreciate it. If it's your first time tuning in, welcome. Much appreciated. If you love NFL news, if you love the Denver Broncos, if you love fantasy football, and just all the latest in the world of sports, hit that subscribe button, man. It'll help me out and help me grow the channel a lot, so I really appreciate it. Guys, let's dive into it, man. We got some surprises we'll put up, and we'll discuss the 53-man roster. Some thoughts that I think might be coming in the next couple days as waivers clear tomorrow, and the practice squad can start to get put in place after that. So we'll compare what the actual roster is versus what my predictions were. And remember, everyone, it's a very fluid situation, right? It's super fluid. So obviously, a lot of these are subject to change, but this is the latest from the Broncos Twitter staff themselves in terms of who's on the roster. So let's dive right in. All right, guys. So the quarterbacks, we're not surprised by it. He said it. Sean Payton himself, bonix, Jarrett Stidham, Zach Wilson were good. A little bit of surprises here on the O-line, right? Starting with Frank Crum making this team. Now, I will tell you, just by looking at Frank Crum and what I've seen, is he was not very good in preseason. He was getting put on his butt. He looked like he was just getting overpowered. And that's okay. I kind of expected that when we signed him undrafted out of Wyoming. But you can see he's got ridiculous talent, ridiculous potential in terms of that skill set. And I thought maybe that he would be someone that they can sneak through the waivers and put on practice squad. Now, a lot of really smart people on Twitter, some guys that came out, and Mike Klitz was one of them that talked about it, but some other, scouts had talked about a couple things. First of all, Frank Crum had way too much talent and showed way too much potential for the Broncos to be confident that he would be able to get put through waivers. And ultimately, maybe he doesn't even choose to stay here on a practice squad. And number two is apparently he's very, very good at run blocking, but he just has a lot of developing and a lot of work that he needs to do in pass blocking. But he's got the skill set. He just needs kind of a year of getting stronger. So that was a surprise, but hey, I'm fine with it. I don't necessarily hate it. I don't think he's somebody that's going to play this year anyways, especially given that we have Alex Polcheski, who's going to be a lot more reliable if we needed to, have another tackle start over Matt Pert. But this is other than Frank Crum. This was pretty much in line with what I had seen happening. I didn't have Forsyth making it. I had Mustafa making it because of just how they were playing him. But I ended up going back to putting Forsyth kind of right before I released my initial predictions because of his center and guard flexibility type. Frank Crum makes it over Throckmorton, so I love that. Diving in here to the running backs. All right, my guy Blake Watson, man, he had made the team. He's on it. I don't think he's going to be going anywhere. I just think he's way too talented and can do way too many things. He might not be so much of an impact early on, but the way that running backs get hurt and things happen, I think that that's good things to go. Now, one thing of note here, guys, I talked about it yesterday. I put it out on Twitter. It made too much sense to have Nate Atkins on this team over somebody like Michael Burton. It doesn't mean that I love Michael Burton or that I hate Michael Burton. I like the way that he plays, but I just felt like the only thing he can do better, you can say for sure right now that he can do better than Nate Atkins, is probably run block. But when you look at his run blocking rate, he's not even all that special. So I think Nate Atkins can really thrive into that role. He can develop into that role, but he gives you a lot more as a pass catcher, a threat out of the backfield, as a blocking tight end. You can just do a lot more with him, and he's a great special teamer. So it makes total sense that he ended up making it. Diving into the receivers, guys, we're only keeping 5 right now, which is a little bit of a surprise. I originally had it because I thought that little Jordan Humphrey had made it, but it came out super late after the 2:00 deadline, actually, that he was not going to make it. Which is totally fine with me. I would have liked to see Brandon Johnson here. This is an interesting room to me. This tells me a couple things. They are probably confident that they can get little Jordan Humphrey back on practice squad, which I think will happen. And a couple of the others, a mix between Brandon Johnson, David Sills, Michael Bandy. But as a starting five, that makes sense. You're probably going to have four of them active on game day every single week, and you're off and rolling. But it's a good group. It's a good mix of youth, explosiveness, experience. So I'm all for it. I'm all for it. We talked about the wide receiver room a lot. So this is the official five that we are going with. In the tight end group, I put Nate Atkins. Obviously, he's tight end. He'll be playing a lot of fullback too, but it's going to be Dulcich, Kroll, Troutman, Atkins. That was a very predictable room, aside from Atkins being there. He was late addition for me, but I like it there. So let me know what y'all think about the offense overall. I think that it was pretty solid there. Now on the defensive side of the ball, man, we got a couple of interesting changes as well, and some guys that made the team, some guys that we weren't really expecting. So we will see, and happy for a lot of these guys. But I will preface by saying that I think there is going to be some external players potentially added, and we'll talk about where that could happen, right? One of those areas is on offensive line potentially, but we'll dive into here and we'll kind of see. So defensive line, I love it. I love how this Broncos team has done a great job of, finding a starter in John Franklin Myers, finding some depth guy, a depth guy in Malcolm Roach, and then really developing Jordan Jackson. Getting Ioma Uzurike back was a really nice surprise. So this is a really good six. It'll be a rotation at times between probably like a total of 4 or 5 will play in the game, but I really like that group a lot. Again, you'll see it's a big trend with this team. A lot of really young developmental guys. Jordan Jackson, talk about someone that's been on practice squad for a couple of years. Ioma Uzurike, we know his story with the suspension, super raw. And then Malcolm Roach, right, has a lot of playing experience, but he's still young. DJ Jones, a vet. Zach Allen, a vet. John Franklin Myers, a vet. So these are it's a really good mix of what you're looking for, and I think this is going to be a solid showing. Inside linebacker is where the initial shock, quote unquote, is here. Lavelle Bailey, man, shout out to him. So happy for the guy, man. He ends up making the team as an undrafted kid, and he had that huge play, which may or may not have solidified it. He looked good in camp prior to that, but that's exciting there. I like that, and it was at the cost of Jonas Griffith, which I was really surprised by. It tells me one of two things. Either they feel Justin Strnad, if he needed to step in as a starter, is more than capable or just as capable of Jonas Griffith, or they feel like Lavelle Bailey could actually step into that role too. But, both those guys can play special teams. They're both Justin Strnad's a leader on this team. Alex Singleton's obviously a stud. But this starting two concerns me. And maybe it's because I was really praying so hard today that we would make a trade for Ernest Jones from the Rams. In a way, it wouldn't have made sense because inside linebacker is not the most coveted positions, but man, he would have been fun. His run stopping ability on this team. But this could be a room where they might make a couple of changes potentially. We'll see though. It's tough because it's got to be for a starter, in my opinion. It wouldn't be for a depth piece. And then outside linebackers, guys, we are only rolling with 4. Okay, Dondrea Tillman did not make this team. I hope they're able to get him on practice squad. I don't know if they will or they won't be able to. But 4 pass rushers seems kind of light to me. It just seems light. It seems like, I don't know. I mean, is that been common? I feel like that's the common in terms of how many are active on game day. But I don't know about who actually makes the team. So interesting to see here. It just seems like you're going a little bit heavier on inside linebacker potentially, and you're going a little bit lighter on outside linebacker, but you're going really, really heavy on safety. So here's kind of where the red flags start to pop up. Keeping 5 safeties and 6 corners, it just seems like it's a lot. And, sacrificing an outside linebacker for one is a little bit weird. I just feel like roster management. So that's why I think that there could be some claims that are put in potentially. Safety, I don't know if it's necessarily a position we'll put a claim in. It's not a really hot market. We've got our starters. We've got our guys there in PJ Locke and Brandon Jones. Devin Key played a lot. He's obviously impressed his coaching staff. JL Skinner, still so much untapped potential there, and special teams ability is awesome. And Keydron Smith, he's going to continue to develop as well. So Man, Keydron Smith, Lavelle Bailey, two guys that ended up making this team as undrafted. Keydron was last year, Lavelle this year. So it was I like that. I'm happy for them. I love to see that. And you talk about a youth movement. You talk about there is still the rebuilding while you're trying to win, and that's the kind of vibe that I got from there. But like I said, 4 outside linebackers seems a little bit strange to me, especially because you can get an outside linebacker that can also play teams, and he's not going to be a waste. Whereas Jonah Ellis will play teams, but that's about it on the outside linebackers front. You won't really see the other 3. So knock on wood, man, one injury away. It just doesn't really fully make sense to me. Maybe Drew Sanders. I know he tore his Achilles. Maybe they think he can maybe be back by November, December, and they'll throw him in there. But it's going to be weird. Anyways, four linebackers, 5 safeties, and we did keep 6 corners on the active. As you can see, Damari Mathis was put on short-term IR. He's going to miss the first month of the season. So once he's back, that could mean that will mean somebody else will be gone. That could be Tremont Smith. It could be somebody else. I was very surprised by this move, but in a way, when I thought about it, it kind of made sense because he has corner and safety versatility. He's also a really good special teams player, but because he has the ability in both, and he can be a return man, I guess it makes sense. But if I had to guess, if the Broncos are putting in a claim and they do get granted that player, I think Tremont Smith would be the guy that ultimately ends up getting cut because we have a lot of safety, so his safety versatility wouldn't make too much sense. And we have enough corners as well. He's not going to get much playing time on corner. And then whatever it is that he can contribute on special teams, I think can be replaced, especially if the player that we're targeting or end up putting in a claim for, has a special teams ability, which I think. So if I had to take a guess, and we can discuss it probably on Thursday when we'll know, or maybe Wednesday evening, tomorrow night. I think that Tremont Smith will ultimately not be on this team towards the end of the year, towards the end of the week, and I think we add somebody at the outside linebacker position. That would be my guess. Unless we are able to get Dondre Tillman and a couple others, maybe Incoom on the practice squad, then that could change it. We could always just elevate if needed. But that was a little bit weird to me. And then obviously the specialists, we got Will Lutz, Riley Dixon, Mitchell Fabroni. Guys, my overall thoughts on it, I love it. Not crazy surprises, but it was different. I'm really happy about Blake Watson being on this team. I'm happy about Lavelle Bailey. I read a lot of positive things about him coming into the year, and he's really showed out. So good for him. Keydron Smith, I'm happy for him as well. And I'm just interested to see how this roster ends up changing a little bit. One thing I wish that we did is I wish we did keep somebody like Brandon Johnson on this team over, maybe a Tremont Smith, sorry. But otherwise everything else seems to make sense with the Nate Atkins pick. And I like the mix that we have going on here at the O-line as well. Let me know what y'all think. This was fun. This was an awesome time. I hate cut down day because I feel bad for guys, but I love it because it really allows for you to move into the season. Aside from your thoughts in the comments, guys, I want you guys to know. I want to know what you guys think some of the number changes are going to be. Now that it's official, maybe I'll make a separate video on it later today about some number jersey number predictions, and if I think some guys are going to change it, and if so, what are they going to change to? Looking at this, I think there's only probably going to be a few. Like Blake Watson is definitely going to change his number. Troy Franklin will probably change his number. I think Vele, now that there's no little Jordan Humphrey, he might take 17, but who knows? Otherwise, Chris Abrams-Drain will probably change his number. And Jonah Ellis may or may not. I like that 52 a lot on him, but he could be somebody. And then we'll see what Lavelle Bailey ends up wearing as well, or if he wants to keep it. Anyways, guys, I appreciate y'all rolling with me. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Spend time with those people that you love. And until next time, a mile high salute. And as always, peace out.